Hey, also welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back again. Today I have for you this beautiful Gerson meal with some crunchy French fries, a sweet and tangy ketchup, some cooked asparagus, and sweet cherries on that romaine salad. All right, let's get to cooking. As usual, I have everything laid out here on my board that we're going to need for today's dinner. We have some spices, an assortment of vinegars. Yep, that's right. We're going to use 3 different kinds of vinegars with today's dinner. And then our veggies. All right, let's get started on these tomatoes. I like to peel the tomatoes before I'm going to make that ketchup. It just turns out to be a much smoother sauce. To help take those peels off, we're just going to put a little X on the tops of those tomatoes and then add in some boiling distilled water. You'll want them to sit in this water somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes. If they sit up for 5 minutes, that's fine. It's not going to hurt them, but at least 2 to 3 minutes so that those skins do come loose. While those tomatoes are soaking in that hot water, we're going to start to peeling here on the potatoes. For the russets, I do like to peel them when I'm making fries, but this is not necessary. You can make your fries with the skins on. I have 3 large russet potatoes here. That's going to make enough for 2 servings and a little bit of snacking. You know, when I'm cooking a lot of my meals, I always try to prep something in 2s or doubles so that the next meal is a little bit easier to prep, and I kind of always have some food ready to go. You're going to want to cut these French fries into medium-sized fries, trying to keep them all about the same size so that the cooking time will be even on it. You can go bigger, you can go smaller. Honestly, it's going to be your preference. But if you do go really small, you want to watch them super careful. Okay, like I said, this is going to be a 2-cook French fry. We're going to boil these French fries with a secret ingredient, and that secret ingredient that makes them just the most amazing thing ever is going to be to add some vinegar to our water. We're going to add in 3/4 a cup to about a cup of distilled vinegar into our water. You can use the apple cider vinegar, the red wine vinegar. I just noticed that I do prefer for the boiling method to use distilled vinegar. And plus, I think on the cost side, it is a little less expensive than those others. All right, like I said, we're going to add in 3/4 of a cup, up to a cup of vinegar to our water. We're just going to cover those fries with distilled water, move them on over to the stove and give them a boil for about 20 to 30 minutes. You'll see we do want them a little fork tender before we move them over to the oven or the air fryer. Now that our fries are doing their first stage of the cooking, let's get to working on that ketchup. Like I said, these tomatoes have been sitting in that hot distilled water for a few minutes. Whatever time it took me to cut those potatoes is pretty much how long they've been sitting in there. You can see with that score on the top, that hot distilled water, those skins come off easy peasy. One more step I'm going to take to my tomatoes here, and it's really because these little guys I get from the grocery store, they tend to be super seedy. I like to try to remove as many of the seeds as possible just for a more intense flavor into the sauce. And plus, I want to use my hand blender to make it very smooth. So like I said, I just prefer to try to eliminate some of those seeds. It is not a necessary step. You do not need to do this. It's just something that I do prefer to do. As you can see there were a lot of seeds. That's just why I prefer to seed these guys. We do want to keep that juice that I pulled out from the seeds and add in the rest of the tomatoes. And we're going to give these guys a couple pulses with the hand blender here so that it is a super smooth sauce. I always think it's funny because when you first start out this ketchup this way, it's very pink and it doesn't look that bright red that we all recognize ketchup with. But don't worry, after we have these blended, we're going to move them into a cooking pot so that we can start developing that ketchup. Now that our tomatoes are blended, we're going to move those over to the stovetop and warm them up before we start adding in our ketchup seasoning. For our ketchup seasoning, we're going to use some balsamic vinegar. We're going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. If you have less tomatoes than I was using, you do want to do less vinegar. And we're going to also do the same for the apple cider vinegar, 1/2 teaspoon of that. And then, of course, we need some sugar element. For that, I'm going to use sucanat. Sucanat is a Gerson Therapy approved sugar. We're going to put in 1 teaspoon of that or an equivalent sweetener that's approved. And then, of course, we need some extra spiciness there to turn the ketchup into that super ketchupy flavor. We're going to put in some allspice, some onion powder, and then also some garlic powder because garlic just makes everything better. We're going to give all that a nice mix, and we're just going to let that sauce cook down. You're going to notice it's going to become a much deeper color. It's going to start thickening up. But, I gave mine a couple little tastes in between, and I noticed it just needed to be a little bit sweeter. So I took out a few extra raisins to put in there. Those raisins I will cook with the sauce, but I will eventually pull them out once the ketchup is ready to cool down. When you're making your ketchup, you do want to add in time for that cool down period. The ketchup is going to need the cooling period so that it develops that sweet tanginess. It might not necessarily have the full sweet tanginess when it is hot, but trust me, once you allow it to cool down, those flavors are going to pop and just become way more intense. So you can always make your ketchup a few days earlier, you make it in the morning, or if you don't have enough time, just pop it into the freezer. Okay, let's take a look at those fries and see how they're doing. They are boiling away. They've been cooking for about 20 to 30 minutes. And like I said, before we move them over to the oven or air fryer, you do want them fork tender. As you can see there, these little fries are ready to drain. Of course, we're going to just drain them right on out. And then there's going to be one more little secret that is just, it totally makes these fries worth it. And we're going to drizzle on some apple cider vinegar. I know the whole house is going to stink like vinegar, but trust me, it just makes almost like, I guess you have a vinegar French fry, which is my most amazing thing I think I've learned to make on the Gerson Therapy. I could just eat these all day and all night, anytime. Okay, so I have, the Breville air fryer, which has these stainless steel trays, and it is like a toaster oven, but it has that air fryer option. Again, this little guy is magic with everything I'm doing. If you don't have this type of an air fryer, you can just go ahead and put these in the oven and bake them. It will maybe just need a little extra time. And as you can see there, that ketchup is cooking down. It's gotten a nice deep color to it. It's gotten much thicker. Oh, and then you see my husband. He's also cooking some dinner at the same time. He's doing some meatballs. Just living the house of 2 different types of meals. All right. So while the fries are in the air fryer and the ketchup is cooking, I just want to cut the ends off my asparagus here. Now, asparagus is pretty easy to cook. All I'm going to do is take some boiling distilled water, add it here into the pot, and then let that sit over a stove, over the stovetop fire for no more than 5 minutes. I like my asparagus to be a little on the crunchy side. If you prefer your asparagus to be on the softer side, you can cook it a little bit longer, but I think having a little bit of bite and crunch to that asparagus is the right way to do it. Okay, so our ketchup is just about done. It is cooked down nicely, but before we put that away, let's just check on our fries. I like to check on my fries a lot because I don't want them to burn. All right, like I said, that ketchup is ready, and here is the key part. We do want to make sure our ketchup has time to chill. I was cooking mine close to dinner, so I first moved it over to the refrigerator to let it slowly chill, and then after about 5 minutes, I did pop it into the freezer because it wasn't cold enough. And here we back into our fries. Like I said, this air fryer, I bought this because my oven had died, but it is the best investment I've ever made. And then when I was putting that ketchup away, I saw these cute little cherries that were sitting in my fridge from the market the other day. So I just, I felt, let's just go ahead and add them to our salad and kind of change it up. It's summertime. Cherries are such a little treat, so let's enjoy them. Okay, the asparagus has been sitting in that hot water for 5 minutes. Now we want to pull them out, drain them, and put them into some cold distilled water. This is going to shock them and stop the cooking process. This is going to allow them to have that little bit of bite and crunch to it, like I prefer. If you don't do the cooling down process, they'll just continue to cook and steam away. So if you like that bite and that crunch, do it this way. Okay, let's check on those fries. I don't think I mentioned this, but I was cooking them on the air fryer at 385. If you're doing it in your oven, you might need to bump it up to 390 at 400. Just make sure you keep a close eye on them and just keep turning them around so they cook nice and evenly here. These guys are at the perfect crunch. Just listen. All right, the fries are done, extra crispy, and it is time to plate up dinner. All right, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Happy eating and happy healing. See you the next time.